ever considered that we are living in a unique time, that something world-changing is about to happen, and that it might concern you? If so, you're in the right place. Keep listening, and you'll hear thought-provoking views behind the news that point to a new and better future for all. Many people now sense that humanity is not alone. So consider this. If the Christ or the Buddha walked among us today as modern men, would we recognize them? What would they be saying? And most importantly, would we listen? Every Sunday on this program, Share International Radio will examine extraordinary events that are unfolding behind the headline news. This may be the message of hope you've been waiting for. And now, welcome to this week's show.
Welcome, everyone. This is Diana Gold-Holland, broadcasting from, well, I must say, a rather dismal and dark day here in Vancouver, British Columbia. Beautiful British Columbia, nonetheless. I have with me today a very special guest, Mr. Lon Loucks. I'll tell you a bit about him in a minute, but for the benefit of our newbies, let me go in for a couple of minutes, or a couple of seconds rather, about the basic tenets of our show. If you're a long-term listener, welcome back to the program, and please bear with us while we go through this very amazing information if our listeners happen to be new listeners. Essentially, myself and my co-host and my production team here at Share on the Air Radio bring you a very important message of hope. In fact, we're talking today about the ending of a dark chapter in the history of the human race, and that is because we have help available of a very extraordinary time. We are not alone, we never have been, but now emerging at this very moment to help us in the most critical decisions that are facing humanity to save this planet and get us onto a more equitable track, we have great teachers emerging onto the world scene. At their head is the Lord Maitreya, who is the chief spokesman for these great teachers, who are collectively known as the Masters of Wisdom. This because they have gone beyond all of the physical and spiritual and maturation battles that lead us into mastery of ourselves. They are expert scientists. They are extremely wise. They have been there, done it all, and come out actually what we would consider to be perfected masters, basically gods to our variation, but in their mind continuing to learn, continuing to evolve, but nonetheless standing back at this time to help us. The Lord Maitreya, as I said, is at the head of this group. I will spell the name for our new listeners. That's Maitreya. He is the expected one of all the great religions, including the Hindu religion and also the Buddhist, who did get his name right when the Gautama Buddha, the original Buddha that we know of historically, announced the coming of a Buddha like him in a time of darkness for humanity. This isn't the exact quote, you can look it up. Basically, I want to lead us in now to our topic, the ending of this dark chapter, and I will start by presenting our guest, Lon Loucks, out of Boulder, Colorado. Ron has, why do I keep saying Ron? Excuse me. Excuse me, Lon. Lon has a very, very broad background, which I want to give briefly because of that. He grew up in the Mennonite community of rural America with 26 variations of Mennonite sects around him, all claiming to be the one true word. And that just within the Mennonites, let alone the other great religions. Anyways, he grew up there, and he found himself in a singing role. He even was an opera singer for a while, and then went into cruise ship singing and piano playing for a period, switched over into hospital administration, and as he is now retired, has gone very much back into his music, his creativity. He has produced several CDs, which you can find online, and that is Lon Loucks, Loucks. Our main interest, though, and our main commonality, I've known Lon for a very, very long time. We're great friends. And he has a 50-year background in the Ageless Wisdom Teachings, which have subtended the development of all of the emergence activities that are happening now. I say emergence because the Lord Maitreya and these perfected masters of wisdom are now onto the world scene. It has been predicted since the 1600s, actually, and very much written by proponents of the Ageless Wisdom Teachings. And you can look these up. The three great representatives are Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, a Russian lady who laid the foundations of the Theosophical Society in the late 1800s. She was followed by Alice A. Bailey, who wrote a series of books dictated by one of these great masters called Dwell Cool, and these teachings are known more commonly as the Alice Bailey teachings, or the published by Lucius Trust. All of that you can look up. The third great proponent of these Ageless Wisdom Teachings is Benjamin Creme, who we have been working with for this many long time, and who, as you may know, has really recently passed. We will be doing a tribute to Benjamin next week. I hope you can tune in. But for now, we remember him fondly already as the third great proponent in these Ageless Wisdom Teachings, from which Lon and myself and so many other volunteers in our network worldwide take their instruction and their knowledge and education. Benjamin Creme has written 16 books, translated into many, many languages, and they are absolutely fascinating if you have not yet taken a look at them. So all of that is part of Lon's wheelhouse, but he's actually here to talk to us today on his chosen subject, the ending of this dark chapter in the history of human race. Lon, you bring to mind that the news of the appearance and the emergence of Maitreya and his colleagues onto the world scene, you call this the biggest news in 2,000 years, and indeed in all of history. So let's have you begin by explaining it. I'll begin by, of course, by saying hello to you and welcoming you to the show.
Hi, Diane. It's a pleasure to be on. Yes, and when you think about it, isn't this, just think about all the things that you just said. When you really stop to think about it, isn't this really an exciting time to be alive? I think it is. And, of course, Benjamin Creme has said this is the most exciting time in the history of the planet. And the reason is because this is the first time, really, this has happened exactly this way. The teacher has always worked before through disciples such as Jesus, Mithra, Krishna, the Imam Mahdi for the Muslims, and this time he's here for every man, woman, and child, no matter what religion, and for that reason he doesn't want to be called the Christ or the Buddha. He wants to be known as the teacher for everyone with a religion or without a religion. And as we know, all the major religions do expect a further revelation to be given by a future teacher. And as I've alluded to, some of the names are expected. Christians hope for the return of the Christ. The Buddhist looks for the coming of another Buddha, the Lord Maitreya. So they have his personal name right. And the Muslims await the Imam Mahdi, the Hindus the reincarnation of Krishna, and the Jews the Messiah. And we're told that this time they will recognize this teacher as the Messiah. And eventually all of the religions will see him as the teacher for the New Age by whatever name. And so it's an exciting time to be alive. At this time of great political, economic, social, environmental crisis, Maitreya, I think, will inspire humanity to see itself as one family and create a civilization based on sharing, economic and social justice, and global cooperation. So that's a few of the ideas that I have about the reappearance of Maitreya and the Masters of Wisdom and why it's the biggest news in history. Never before has anyone of this stature come, and this time the Christ, the Buddha, the Imam Mahdi has come himself. And this is what makes it really exciting. And he couldn't come before because humanity really wasn't ready. When Jesus of Nazareth brought forth his teachings 2,000 years ago, we've been told that humanity really could barely think. So we have to understand that the teachings given for that time was for a different state of consciousness. So we really need to be open to hear what this teacher is going to have to say.
Right, and when you say the last time, I'd like, let's clarify for our listeners that a teacher comes at the start of each new age to sound the note of that age. So Maitreya is here right on cue to help inaugurate the age of Aquarius, a time when all of humanity will sense and live and breathe in oneness. Stay tuned with us. We'll be back on the other side of the break with Lon Loucks.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Spiritual, metaphysical, green living, psychic, alternative healing, life coaching. Do any of these or similar terms apply to your business or cause? If so, you are in a niche market with a very specific audience. Conscious Gate PR is the world's leading conscious public relations agency. With a global reach of over 4 million and growing, we offer comprehensive media campaigns to our targeted market. Learn more at ConsciousGatesPR.com. Conscious marketing for conscious minds.
Join Vibe Nation radio host, international psychic medium Carrie Turcotte, as she guides her listeners to rediscover themselves by accessing the keys of knowledge that already exist within. Each week's show is divinely orchestrated to intertwine with the universal energies, allowing the listeners to go deeper within. At the end of each show, Carrie will tap into the energies of the listeners and give a message from Spirit about the upcoming week. If you really want to get to know who you truly are, join Carrie each Monday at 3 p.m. on Vibe Nation Radio.
Now there's a book about UFOs that stands out. British author Benjamin Creme has worked directly with the Space Brothers and writes about their spiritual mission in The Gathering of the Forces of Light, a truly inspiring book. Visit shareontheairradio.org for details. That's shareontheairradio.org. shareontheairradio.org.
Hey everybody, Rachel Ray here. Nothing brings a bigger smile to my face than cooking up a big meal for the whole family and lots of friends. But there's not enough room at my table for the 17 million kids in our country who struggle with hunger. That's why the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks collects surplus food to give hope to hungry kids. But they can't do it without your help. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hello. Welcome back. We are here with Lon Loucks today to talk about the ending of a very deep, dark chapter in the history of the human race. And that because of the emergence of Maitreya, the world teacher, and his group of perfected masters who are emerging very rapidly now before us to help us with our world crisis. To find out more, we invite you to come visit our Facebook page, of course, and also the website, www.shareontheairradio.org. That's shareontheairradio.org. If you're brand new to this information, there are 2 introductory shows, our very first programs over a year ago, where you will be able to get the whole picture on the emergence. So I invite you to do that. And now, though, we want to take a look at what's happening in the world and why Maitreya and the Masters have come. Let's talk about that, Lon. Why are we experiencing what we are experiencing today? I saw a billboard the other day online that said, apocalyptic literature moved to current events. Apocalyptic fiction! Apocalyptic fiction moved to current events. You think that kind of sums it up?
Yeah, people are just, they're angry, and you can understand they are upset, and they're worried, they're fearful. And so what in the world is happening? Well, we're told that a couple things are happening, of course, that there's an energy from an outside source that's been released, and this causes humanity to be at odds with one another. It causes all kinds of unpleasant things to happen. There's also an energy, biblically, it's called the sword of cleavage. We were told 2,000 years ago that would be released before he came. So it's another sign that there is a great teacher here, because that's exactly what I think is happening. And this sword of cleavage will eventually be withdrawn, because why is it given in the first place? Why do we have to go through this? Well, I think it's a couple reasons. I think we have to see ourselves. We have to see the problems in the world as they are before we can fix them. We know about Brexit in England, how they've unexpectedly voted to withdraw from the euro. And in the United States, we've just gone through a rather difficult campaign to elect a new president. And there are people who are happy about it, and there are people who are unhappy. I think we have to just make the best of the situation from whatever side we're on, and realize that this might really be good, because if it's true we can't fix it until we see it, well, we're getting a good look. And another thing that's happening is Maitreya is releasing an energy which causes us to be aware. It's Maitreya's energy of awareness. And you can read about it in Benjamin Cram's wonderful book called The Laws of Life, Maitreya's Teachings. And on page 44, for example, he talks about awareness. And he says, people are saying enough is enough. And they have a little taste of something happening. They no longer are content to put up by being influenced by political, economic, or religions. They don't want to be having all of this stuff in their face. They want to be free. They want to enjoy life. And one of the when Christ said that he'd return in such a time as we think not, he would not bring soft words of spurious peace, but a sword of cleavage. So that would separate Father from Son. But the schisms and greed in the world are being pointed out to us. And I think this is probably going to end up, as we've been told, being a good thing, because if the esoteric literature is correct, the spiritual hierarchy of the cosmos has never yet lost a planet. But, the teachers come in time to make sure that we don't destroy the planet. And that's, of course, very hopeful. And perhaps before we're through with the show, we can talk about the hope that is rising. And so it's darkest before dawn is another statement that we hear often. So why not be hopeful that out of this darkness will come some good? And just talking about the masters and the wisdom and the Maitreya, the head of a group of masters who are here in some number already. We were told at one point there were 14, and then since then in the recent Share International magazine, in the question and answer section, it pointed out that there indeed are a couple more since that time. So in time, there will be 40 perfected masters working under Maitreya, the master of masters, the teacher of teachers. So it's important to have a perspective that, we're not going to hell in a basket. This really is a kind of hell. As Krishnamurti, some people are familiar with, the great teacher who was a disciple of Maitreya, said, we've created a stinking, rotten civilization. So we're starting to see some of that difficult, some of the bad stuff that we didn't see before. So to my mind, don't you think, Diana, that that's a good thing? We have to see it, fix it.
Absolutely. And what we are seeing now quite clearly is all the dross rising to the surface, the political scandals, the financial scandals, all of this topsy-turvy that's happening is actually clearing the way. It's cleansing and clearing so that the building energies can be laid down for the new civilization. I just wanted to give a quote from Maitreya in the collection of messages, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a sec. He says that in the end result of all of this, he says, and he is omniscient, he says, my heart tells me your answer, your choice, and is glad.
Isn't that reassuring?
So he knows that the heart, and in another place he says the heart of humanity is sound. So no matter what we may be seeing portrayed on our screens, fundamentally, and we see this time and time again in the countless acts of sacrifice and help going on that we do hear about when we do get a chance to hear some of the good news, the heart of humanity is sound.
Right, and another good point to remember is that the media makes money on bad news. We've been told by Benjamin Creme that there's much more good news in the world than bad news, and yet we tend to concentrate on the bad news. So I think that's a hopeful thing, too, to realize that there are wonderful things happening in the background, and so we need to be open to that possibility.
And especially see them happening in our own neighborhoods and try to be participating in that, because every little bit of hope breeds more hope. Whereas, I was thinking about this the other day, Lon. If we grumble about, whatever our wishes were for the election, if we're disappointed and fearful and all this about climate change, whatever negative emotion we put out towards whatever situation creates more fire, more fuel for that negativity.
More negativity, yeah.
More fuel for the negativity to develop. So if we want to work on our awareness, if we want to work on our conscious presence here as human beings at this time, we can contribute to this climate of hope and expectancy needed by Maitreya to emerge by not concentrating on our angers, our disappointments, but rather feeding love into this whole sick and broken network.
Right, and we have to remember it's the end of an age, coming out of a very fundamentalist environment, and I'm not knocking anybody's religion, but it was so negative, and it's not the end of the world. This is what people are fearful of, too. Fear is the big glamour that Benjamin Creme has said. It's the biggest problem of the world. So it's important to remember that in biblical times, they were talking about the end of an age and not the end of the world.
Well, they thought it was the end of the world, but it was really the end of the age.
Yeah, they waited. They didn't write any of the stuff down from the teachings of Jesus because they thought the world was going to end. And then finally, some 90 years later, they started writing down these things. And so another thing to remember that just reminds me is that there's evidence on Wikipedia that a pope called Justinian, took out of the Bible all of the references to reincarnation. Now imagine the difference if that hadn't been taken out of the Bible. Instead of only 2/3 of the world believing in reincarnation, the whole world would perhaps believe in it, and it wouldn't be so fearful, because people think, a lot of people I knew, because I grew up with them, think that this is the only chance you get. And so what it does is it really brings up fear, which doesn't help the problem at all.
Well, also, we might behave differently to one another when we know we're coming back, and what comes around goes around.
Exactly. And it might make us want to speed up our evolution a little bit. Instead of just sitting back and moaning, in this wonderful book, Laws of Life, I don't mean to be pushing it. I certainly don't get any profit from it, and no one does. This is what people have to realize. This website you mentioned, shareinternational.org, is all done out of love. No one at all associated makes any money. Benjamin Creme never made any money from his books. All the money from the books goes back into a fund to print more books, and I think it's important to mention that.
Yeah, absolutely. And these books are absolutely stellar. As we go to break, I want to mention this particular thing to our listeners. If you go to the website share-international.org, that's www.share as in sharing, share-international.org, you will find there a treasure chest of information, not only on the emergence, but on many, many other topics, including the 16 books written by Mr. Creme. Lon has mentioned one of them, the Laws of Life. In the previous commercial, you heard another one, The Gathering of the Forces of Light, which is also extreme. They're all good. People have trouble picking their favorite book of these. And you can find them on shareinternational.org in the book section.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Have you bought into the idea that you have to work hard for your money, that business is hard? I will share some dynamic access consciousness tools to get you out of your own way so you can create a business that actually succeeds. Join me, Simone Millicers, on The Joy of Business at 4 p.m. Mondays Eastern.
The Awakening of Humanity by Benjamin Creme is a concise, prophetic book about momentous changes soon to occur. It focuses on an unprecedented event, the emergence into full public life of Maitreya, the world teacher. Download the book free online. Visit shareontheairradio.org. That's shareontheairradio.org. shareontheairradio.org.
My name is Dale Pazinski, and this is how I live united. I volunteer with United Way, helping the homeless in my community by teaching computer skills and helping them build a basic resume to save on their very own USB drive. It's huge when somebody says, "Hey man, that job that you helped me apply for, I got it." My name is Dale Pazinski. I help people achieve financial independence. So I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Here we are, back with Lon Loucks, and we are talking about the emergence of Maitreya, the world teacher for this age, and the fact that this is the ending of a very dark period in humanity's history. As you heard during the break, another book of Mr. Creme's was mentioned, The Awakening of Humanity, and that one, I believe, is one of the books that I wanted to tell you about specifically, because 4 of them are available for free download. That's right, 4 of Mr. Creme's books are available as free downloads on the website www.share-international.org. So we invite you to go there and take a look at that. And for all of our long-term listeners who are joining us today, I invite you to just pick out any of your books, open it at any page, and just read what you see there and understand how wonderfully gifted we have been with Mr. Krem's penning these books. He was, of course, a direct disciple of one of the senior Masters of Wisdom, working hand in hand with Maitreya. Mr. Krem had daily and instant-to-instant communication with his master, and this master, as part of his service to humanity, has helped pen those books for us. They contain immense knowledge and wisdom that you will not find anywhere else, and it is not written in an esoteric, very dry psychology, philosophy style. It is very, very approachable information on all kinds of topics, from the Shroud of Turin to the coming isotope of water to be used in cold fusion for some of our most pressing energy needs. That being something, that aside, we wanted to talk a bit about the growing awareness that is coming into the world with Maitreya and how that can affect us. People now are sensing a lot of turmoil, there's a lot of restlessness, and, there is a lot of criticism going on. So, Lon, there's something about this idea of no blame that's an important part of the problem for now.
Yes.
And I'd like you to run us through that as one of the major issues that we need to look at and fix today.
Well, I've been talking to different people I bump into about this page 178 in the Laws of Life. I'm going back to that book. They're all wonderful, like you say. But this is so powerful, especially for this country, because of the puritanical origins. I think guilt is just kind of in our fabric. And, of course, a lot of religions add to that. But Maitreya says there's no blame in it. We are not this or that. We are a spark of cosmos. We always have been and always will be. And that we simply are here to witness what you might call the Almighty or the cosmos or God's work, whatever word you want to use for that which always has been and always will be. We're part of that, you see. It's an amazing teaching, and I think when people experience this on Declaration Day, which we might have time to talk about, it will give people a taste of who they really are. And he talks about awareness also, about awareness is more powerful than nuclear bombs. And he says it's more powerful than anything else in the universe. And the master Jal Kool, who you mentioned from the Alice Bailey books, has said that awareness is one aspect of our soul. The other aspects being presence, the presence with a capital P, and also light. And if we can't see light, we can imagine it. We can act as if it's there. And that's another thing I want to mention about the esoteric teachings that I was told about 50 years ago. If it's too far out to believe, don't disregard it. Try acting as if it's true. And the other thing that, like Benjamin Krem mentioned at conference not that many years ago, is somebody was asking for a new technique. And he said, what do you mean a new technique? We've been given so many already, but we don't practice them. So the admonition is to see ourselves as who we really are. And he says we are these divine sparks of God. And if we could just every day, maybe throughout the day, several times, stop and forget about the caricature that he says we make of ourselves. I am a male, or I am a female, or I'm gay, or I'm straight, or I'm rich, or I'm poor, or I'm red, brown, yellow, black, and white. He says we are none of those things. And so this practice, which I try to do, and I find that when I do it, it really has results. And so I'm kind of on my bandwagon about that. And the whole first 50 pages of the Laws of Life are about Maitreya's teachings. Why not go to the source? And he says, my teachings are so simple. And perhaps I could mention basic 3 principles, Diana, if it's okay.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. This is the cornerstone of Maitreya's teaching. Go for it, Lon.
Well, he says, if you follow the 3 principles of honesty of mind, sincerity of spirit, or emotions, sincerity of our emotions, and number 3, detachment, then evolution proceeds naturally. He says our second nature was conditioned by our childhood. We were in touch with ourself, and that's the reason on Declaration Day it will be reminiscent of who we were as children. Isn't that exciting to think about?
Absolutely.
But he says, if you're filling the kids' minds with what they should do and religion and all of that, it really sets up a conditioning and it cuts us off from who we are. But he says no one is condemned to conditioning. And so that sounds simple, honesty of mind. But, when I started, I was told many years ago to start doing a daily diary, and I highly recommend it. It takes a little discipline, but once it gets into your schedule, it's easy to do. And you cannot kid yourself, Diana. If you write in your diary and read it later, you start seeing little things where you're being dishonest. It's quite humbling to do this. And then to practice sincerity of spirit or emotions, because Maitreya uses spirit and emotions interchangeably. If we can learn to be sincere, because I wasn't taught to be sincere, Diana. I don't know about you, but in my community, we had to act as if we were feeling good about something when we weren't. And that really caused me problems. It took me decades to get over that. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing he talks about is detachment. And you may have some thoughts about that, but I think detachment really means detachment from our emotions. And it took me a long time to really, figure out that's what he means. And then once you can detach from the emotions a little bit, the next thing he says is to go beyond our thoughts. And if we can get a handle on both our emotions and our thoughts, I think that's where awareness comes in. And there's some wonderful quotes about awareness can only be experienced, and it purifies. Awareness is something so sacred that it purifies the self with a capital S, which he says is our God self. It's esoterically they call it the monad. And it frees us from creation if we can just settle down, let the thoughts, not repress them, not repress the emotions, but just observe from a very quiet place. I think that's what he's talking about.
Well, that, of course, is the basis of meditation, is finding that quiet place and experiencing it. And that is perhaps one of the most difficult things for people to do. People are afraid of meditation, or they already are negatively inclined to it, thinking they won't be any good at it. But, even being fully present, as you said, the experience of presence, even for a few seconds, can change everything. So we don't have to learn to sit for, in hours and hours on end on staring at our belly buttons. We can be present in the flash of light.
You can do it sitting at a light at an intersection. Absolutely. You can have that full connection. You don't want to go too far because you have to watch for the light to change. But I'm saying you can do it many times during the day. You can do it while you're doing the dishes or preparing a meal. You can do it when you're taking a walk. And as
you say, it's something that is experienced. So you create that experience. Every time you go into that place, you create that experience, and you can add to the power of light in that way. So that's, very good for the personal meditation. Let's just give a quick mention, of course, to the group meditation form called transmission meditation. This is another book about this is available free on the website, www.share-international.org. Transmission is a very powerful meditation being given at the dawn of this age, the age of the brotherhood of man, the age of the group synthesis. And so this the energies are put through by the masters through an assembled group. It takes no special beliefs, or there's no cost to it. So if you want to try out this brand new form of meditation, group meditation, under the direct guidance of Maitreya and the Masters of Wisdom, please find out more about it. That's transmission meditation, a meditation for the new age. And that, again, there is a website called transmissionmeditation.org. It wasn't really my intention to get into transmission too much today, Lon. Listeners may know or will want to know that we have done a couple of other programs on transmission itself. One of them was with me in August with Krista Perez. If you want to go back into the archives of our show on shareontheairradio.org. The archives of all the shows are there, and that's one you can listen to on that topic. Sorry to get off topic a bit here, Lon, but that meditation is so important that I thought we should make a point of it.
Yeah, transmission.org.
That's right. Join us again, folks, on the other side for more with Lon Loucks and the message of hope at this time.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hi, I'm Kelly Fox, host and astrologer of The Astrology Show. Each week, I'll give you access to the current transits, which are a valuable tool that provide astrological information to help unlock the potential each of us has. Understanding the stars can help steer us in the right direction to make better informed choices. So if you're wondering what's going to happen in your week ahead, be sure to tune in to The Astrology Show for guidance. Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
Are you on a spiritual path and want a quick reference guide? Look no further. The booklet Ageless Wisdom Teaching introduces key spiritual concepts, including reincarnation, meditation, and initiation. Download the book free online. Visit shareontheairradio.org for details. That's shareontheairradio.org. shareontheairradio.org.
It only takes a minute to find out if you may have prediabetes, and you can do it at doihaveprediabetes.org. But you're probably not going to, are you? Kids, work, listening to the radio. You're busy, which is great because busy people can't get prediabetes. Oh my, I read that wrong. They can. Should have worn my glasses. So visit doihaveprediabetes.org and take a short test, because prediabetes can be reversed.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its pre-diabetes awareness partners.
Here we are again, back with Lon Loucks, and we are talking about actually a very great message of hope. And the reason that this is important is that, well, of course, everybody needs hope. But if you're wondering, when are we going to see this New World teacher, this Maitreya? How do I find out more? Where is he? This all depends on us to be able to have him come forward. He needs a climate of hope and expectancy into which he and the masters can emerge because of cosmic law. These great teachers, powerful and wise as they are not allowed by cosmic law to infringe on human free will. And they therefore need our invitation. They need our heartfelt call for them to come forward. So only inasmuch as that climate of hope and expectations allows their message to be received, to be perceived even in the midst of all of this darkness, only in so much as that climate of hope is there can this happen. So it is up to us to call them forward. And Lon, I'd like to turn it over to you. And when that climate of hope and expectancy reaches the triggering point, tell us what happens.
Well, hopefully, Maitreya then will be able to step forward. He only knows the law, and when we've asked, Benjamin Krem, when he was still alive, at conference and so forth, when this might happen, he says he doesn't even think Maitreya knows. It depends on humanity. And it depends on groups like this and radio shows and TV shows and talking to people at fairs to get the information out, to raise the expectancy that you mentioned, Diana, don't you think? And then when that happens, Benjamin Krem's master said, people at first will awaken to a new situation. This is like after Declaration Day. One altogether familiar and strange, and nothing similar will have been the experience of anyone alive.
Okay, tell us, Lon, tell us first, what is that experience? What is Day of Declaration?
Well, the Day of Declaration is when Maitreya will fulfill the prophecy that every eye shall see him. He fulfilled one of those prophecies, like coming in the clouds when he came in an airplane, like we all do. We fly in airplanes nowadays. He came from the Tibetan mountains to London. Well, on Declaration Day, the spiritual masters and the hierarchy has given this information to humanity so that we could have this network of TV network that can hook up together, and on that day, like I said, every eye will see him, but he won't speak. We will hear his words telepathically, the English in English, the Dutch in Dutch, and the Russians in Russian. And on that day, then, people will start hearing things that they've never experienced before. And we don't know when that's going to be, but it'll be announced by the media. And so people can tune in, and if you don't tune in, if you don't have a TV, you'll still hear his words telepathically. And like a husband would maybe say to his wife, are you hearing what I'm hearing? And so it'll be palpable energy. It won't just be, this kind of hit or miss thing from the solar plexus. This will be mind to mind. This is how the masters communicate all the time. Can you imagine anything more exciting, Diana? And on that day, men will realize that their life till now was a shallow thing. An unfamiliar sense of self-esteem will replace their hopelessness, their present hopelessness. And this is so exciting to me. Drugs of all kinds will cease their hold on men. We happened to get a magazine called Time, and it had, a couple of weeks ago, it had an article. On the front page was this picture of a very depressed adolescent. And it shows how she is actually cutting herself, which is gruesome to talk about, but it actually was less painful, and it gave her it gave her relief from her terrible emotional and psychological problems to cut herself. This is what is going on with our youth. They have no sense of who they are. Our society is it's so materialistic, and it has such a hold on people. that people absolutely do not know who they are. And he goes on to say in this wonderful article called To Serve Anew, it's on in Maitreya's Mission, Volume 3, if anybody wants to read this that has the book or would like to buy it. On page 259, it's Benjamin Krem's master giving this article, and then he expands on it. And he says, men's tears will flow in humble gratitude and longing for the good. And another paragraph he talks about, from that time forward, a new spirit of sanctity will prevail upon the earth. Men will walk on tiptoe for a time. Isn't that wonderful to contemplate? People will be so moved by that they don't want it to ever, ever end. And then this whole thing, this whole idea of the presence of the Christ or the Buddha or the Imam Mahdi, whatever name people want to call him, this presence of a great, great world teacher will constitute a problem. And long-held beliefs will be shaken to their core. But few in time will stand against the common knowledge that a great teacher, by whatever name, is walking among them. And then, of course, the article addresses the idea that societies worldwide will play their part, assuring the broad dissemination of the needed teachings. And
now, Lon, do complete.
No, I'm done. I was just going to expand on that, on some, how societies worldwide will play their part. And much remains to be given, but already much remains unopened and unread in the hands of men. Just think about the books from Blavatsky, Alice A. Bailey, and Benjamin Krem. All these three sources are from the spiritual hierarchy of the planet. And they're going to be here for 2,000 years, not changing a hair. And so it's not like they're going to be here and then gone again. They're going to make sure we don't make a new religion of these wonderful, wonderful teachings. And so just to go on to the last paragraph, endeavor of the council is to inculcate the habit of reading much, and thus to inform and guide the seekers on the way. Systematic study of the teachings and earnest attempts to live the precepts of Maitreya, because I think I alluded to that earlier. It's one thing to know the teachings, but we have to practice them. We have to find time to actually see ourselves as a Buddha or as Yogananda or whoever your idol is that is perfect. Some idea, draw a picture perhaps. But he says, use your imagination to see yourself. And if that doesn't work, then you just imagine or feel the energy of this perfect being. And slowly but surely that changes the brain cells so that we can eventually become masters. The brain cells become so open and aware to new things that you can't imagine. And that's how awareness will do that. Just being aware of who we might actually be, which Maitreya says are sparks of the Almighty, sparks of God, sparks of the cosmos. And that's what the self is with a capital S. It's this great being that we always have been and always will be.
Great close, Lon. Just as we end up, we will try to find a way to get some reference to this article Lon has been quoting called To Serve Anew, out of the Maitreya Mission book and in other places. We'll try to get a reference to that up onto the Facebook page so you can take a look at it. I do want to draw your attention in closing to the free download book, The Awakening of Humanity, and towards the end of that on page 119, there is a prayer for the new age which is quoted. And if it is said that if this prayer is said seriously every day, there will grow inside of you a realization of your true self. It's a very short prayer. I invite you to go and check it out, The Prayer for the New Age, in the book, free download, Awakening of Humanity by Benjamin Krem. We are pretty much near the end of the program. If you chance, I'll say this prayer once so you can hear it. But before the program ends, I do want to, well, first of all, thank Lon for being here today with us and bringing this message of hope so much into clear focus. With
my pleasure. Thank you, Diana.
Yes. Oh, thanks, Lon. And I want to tell you about next week's show, which is a very special show. The date is December the 4th. It is the one day before Benjamin Creme would have been celebrating his ninth. Sorry, I have to get the math here. Anyways, it would have been Benjamin Creme's birthday on December the 5th, his 94th, I believe, birthday. And so on next week's program, same time, same station, OMTimes Radio, we are doing a tribute to Benjamin Creme. And we will hopefully have some of the co-workers from London on the line with us for that show. So many welcomes to join us. Thank you for being with us today. And if you like, I will close by reading the prayer of for the new age. And if there's any time left over in the end, you can just sit with that quietly. Here it is. I am the creator of the universe. I am the father and mother of the universe. Everything comes from me. Everything shall return to me. Mind, spirit, and body are my temples. For the self, to realize in them my supreme being and becoming.